Hey guys, hi again. Welcome to the very first video of this lecture series. So in this lecture series, we will solve lead code coding problems, and also we will discuss how can we approach for the efficient solution. So here in this given problem, we have given an array of integers, and also we have given an integer a target, that is a sum of two numbers. What we have to do, we have to return the two numbers, that is add up to the target, and also the indices. Okay, so for that array elements, for those array elements, we have to return their indices. Okay, so here this is an array 2 7 11 15, and the target is 9, and there 0 and 1 is the indices of that target. Okay, so that means at the 0 index the value is 2, and at the 1 index the value is 7, and if you will add 2 and 7 it will gives 9, which is exactly same as our. So right now, so for this 3 to 4, the indices is 1 and 2, that means the value we will add, that 2 and 4, it gives us 6. Suppose if you have a like many solution, suppose in this problem if you have another array elements like 4 and 5, that is also maybe the answer. So we can print any order, answer in any order, and any one of the answer. So here the constraints given as our array size is not less than 2, and it basically maximum 10 to the power 4, and the array elements, it basically minus 10 to the power 9 up to 10 to the power 9. And same way we have a target value, that is the sum value of two numbers, has same range as our array elements. So what we will do, so think about the solution. So how can we approach this problem? So first thing is that we want to get the sum of two numbers, which is exactly same as our given target 9 or any value. So here, suppose if we will get the first element, then we have to find the next element, that is the second element. Okay, and if we will get both element, then we will uh, put their indices in that array, because we have to return an array as an output of two elements. Okay, so the first solution is that we just took the first element, suppose. Okay, so we just put the first element 2, and here in this scenario, we get the first element as 2. So what we will do, we will just gonna check the next element, that is the next value for that sum. It may be 7, 6, 8, any value, depend upon our target value. Okay, so we iterate through the next three elements for the first value. Same way, if you suppose if you will not find that value, that target, so if you will not get the target value, then we again go for the next element, that is the 7, and we will iterate through the next two elements, and same way we will check each and every element. So here in this case we need to use two for loop. Okay, and for each for loop we have to iterate for the next all elements. So in this way we're gonna take order of n squared, the time complexity becomes worst. Okay, so this is not an efficient solution of this problem. So, and another efficient solution is that here somehow, suppose if you get the first element 2, and somehow if you will get the next element, for the next element, we're gonna search the element in order of one time, that also will work. Okay, so here, and also another efficient solution is that we're gonna use a hash map data structure. Okay, So in Java programming language, it is so HashMap is basically a class which basically implements a map interface. So it is part of, like, it basically implements the collection interface. Okay, in the Java, in the collection framework. Okay, so HashMap is a data structure which basically stores the elements in key value pairs. So here in this problem, we're gonna use HashMap data structures to optimize our solution. Okay, and since we want to get the indices of the array elements also, so for that we're gonna use HashMap. Okay, we can also use a hash set, but here the problem is that we have to also find the next element, sorry, the array indices. And also, why will not use a hash set, another problem is that that since hash set, basically the set data structure, hash set data structure gives the non-repeating elements. Okay, so suppose somehow if the value is 6 and we have a target 6 and we have first value is 3, so if you're gonna check in the hash set, then it will search for the same element also. Okay, so 3 and 3 gives you 6, and in this scenario it will not work in that way. Also, we have to find the indices, so why we use hash map data structure. So here I'm just gonna just write a empty hash map. Okay, where we have to put key value pairs. Okay, and here our key is the 1 minute, guys. So here what will our key, the key part is that our nums of I, that is array element at I index. And what is our value? Our value is I indices. Okay, so we just took this hash map. And what will our logic? So here what we will do, we will first check if that element. Okay, so here what is the first element? That is nums of I. And what will be the second element? So it obviously uh, target, that is our target minus of nums I. So it basically the our second element, and nums I is our first element, and maybe vice versa, this is our first element and nums of I our second element. Okay, and suppose if that element, like target of nums of I, is present in that array, so it is also an element. If that element is present in that array, that it also an element of an array. Okay, so in that case, this target minus of nums I and the nums I are the two values of an array. Okay, so that is basically our two values. Okay, and here what we will do, we will first check if that value, that is target minus of nums I, is present or not in that hash map. That means the nums of I. Okay, suppose if that value is present in the hash map, that means nums of I is also present. Okay, so if that value is not present in the hash map, what we will do, we will just put that value inside that array. And what value we will put? We will put the present element. Okay, so what is the present array element? That is nums of I. And also we will put the index. Okay, that is the array index, guys. So here we will put nums of I and their array index. And here in this case, maybe it's a first element, so nums of 0, that is 2, and that index is 20. Okay, so in this way. And then after we again check for the next element. Okay, and suppose if we will get that value, so here suppose if we will find that target minus of num psi inside the map. Okay, so for 7, 7 minus, like 9 minus of 7, it gives 2. That means that value, suppose that value is inside that map. So in that case we basically get our array elements and their indices. Okay, that is that target minus of num psi, that is that element. And if that element present inside the hash map, that means we already stored it inside that, and it was one of the array element, and also we will get their index. Okay, so if that element present inside the uh, hash map, then we will get their index. Okay, of this part, that means the target minus of num psi, their index. Okay, not the I. And also we will get the another index, that is I. So here for our array, our first element becomes the I, the present index, and the second element, that is array of 1, becomes that array index, index of that value. Okay, that is index of that value, for which for that element of hash map. Okay, so this is basically our logic, guys. So I'm just gonna delete this part and just write actual code. So here in this problem, what we have to do, we have to return an array of elements, that is array of indices. So here I'm just gonna first take an array int ar new int size of 2. Okay, and also since we're going to use a hash map data structure, so we're going to just write a hash map class and integer, that is basically a wrapper class of int data type. And here's key and value pairs, both are integers, and I'm just going to write a hash map names mp and new hash map. Okay, integer. Okay, so here this is our hash map, guys. And right now I'm just gonna use for loop to iterate our array elements I less than of what, nums dot length and I plus plus. So here, so what we will do, we will first check if that value, that is target minus of nums of I, so if that value is present inside the map or not, that contains key, the what the value, that target minus of nums of I. So for that I'm just going to check if that value is not present. Okay, so if that value is not present, that means we will put the array element and their index. And what is our array element? That is nums of I. So here we're gonna just use put function to put that element. So here nums of I is our the array element and their index, that is I. And in the else part, that means if target minus of nums I, that is our array elements, is present inside the hash map, that means we will just get the array index. So here our the first array array element becomes the index of that value, that is nums of I. Okay, so if that element is present in the hash map, so what element, that is target minus of nums I. And what will be the next index, that is ar of 1. It basically we're gonna just get the index of which element, that is target, since we have already put that element inside the hash map, so that is target minus of num psi. Okay, so we will get the index of that element, since we have already checked if this element, that is target minus of num psi, is present inside the array or. Okay, so right now we took the array index of both elements, that which gives us the given target. So what we will do, we will just return the array. Okay, so just look at this problem again. So we have some target value and we have to find the indices where the elements are like add up to that target. So if we add 2 and 7, so it will gives value 9. Okay, so for their indices we used to, like, we took an array and we just here took an HashMap data structure to implement our logic to solve this problem in order of n time. Okay, and here we check if that element, that is target minus of nums I, suppose the second element is present in the HashMap or not. If not present, that means we will put the first element inside the HashMap and their index. And here, suppose if that element is present, that means the second element is present inside the hash map, that means we already put their first element inside the hash map. So in that case we will just get their index. So in that scenario, suppose in that scenario nums I becomes the second element and the target minus of nums I becomes the first element. Okay, so I'm just gonna run this program. Okay, so what is the time complexity? It is order of n. Why? Because for hash map, for like when I iterate the, like, suppose this contains key basically takes order of one time to check the key value, and also the put function take order of one time to put the key and value pairs, and also the get function use order of one times to get, okay, that value. So here our time complexity is order of n because we are iterating each and every element of an array. And thanks for watching, and please do subscribe the channel. In the next video we will discuss about the next problem.